Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I am Kyle Smith. I'm here with Dorian Foley.
What's going on, guys? Skull Vikings, all that good jazz stuff, and more stuff. Vikings football, baby.
I like that. You're like Leon Phelps, isn't that his name?
Yeah, the ladies' man, Leon.
Yeah, you're our ladies' man, dude. Yes, and Adam Carlson. What's up, dude?
And I am missing the premiere of Big Brother to be here, so you guys better feel pretty special.
That's a big deal for you. I do appreciate it. You guys, if there's anybody in the chat already, let's make sure this is the longest show we've ever done, just so we can keep Adam away from what he loves. We're trying to secretly turn him into him hating us. That's what we're trying to do.
Hey, at least I didn't take a last-minute trip to Menards.
True.
Ooh, burn on Mr. West. All right, I love it. Let's go.
Mr. West is out doing some home improvement projects right now, so he may be joining us a little bit later, but for now, we're going to push forward without him.
Absolutely. He might jump in, so cool. But if you guys are there, I don't know if anybody's got the chat up. If we don't,
I do. Nobody's here yet. We just got started. There's one person watching, and it is me.
It's an Inception, sir. Inception.
I'm watching me watching me. It's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Let's jump right in. This is episode number 308, The Thrill of D. Hunt. Because we're going to talk about Danielle Hunter today, because that man got paid, and we're all pretty excited about it.
We'll definitely talk about that quite a bit there in that main topic.
But since we are talking about Danielle Hunter and contract extensions and everything else, jump into the quick hits like we always do. Here are a list of the Vikings who are under contract through 2020. So this is at least for the next 3 years. Quarterback Kirk Cousins, running back Dalvin Cook, wide receiver Adam Thielen, offensive tackle Riley Reif, our center Pat Elflein, linebacker Eric Kendricks, defensive end Everson Griffin, defensive end Danielle Hunter, as we mentioned, safety Harrison Smith, and cornerback Xavier Rhodes.
Now, this does not include players who are on the rookie deals and some of the other guys who have signed longer deals that may not be as significant of players. This is basically like the greatest hits version of the players that are under contract. You can't blame Rick Spielman at all for wanting to lock down so many of his top-tier talented players to try to make sure that the Vikings can be relevant for many years to come. And that's exactly what happened here. And to see that name, that list of names, just automatically lets you know that the Vikings will be contenders for a long time.
This is pretty sweet because, like you said, like a greatest hits version, if they were doing a charity event, these are the names that they would broadcast at the front to get you to come out. So this should give the fans of the Vikings some hope. These guys are definitely going to be on the team for the next couple of years. And there's some all-pros here. There's some pro bowlers. You name it. There's breakout superstars. And there's a tier grading system of how you've hit in the draft if you get a blue chip player. There's quite a few blue chip players on this little list here. So it's got a good nucleus. And it's split right in half between offense and defense. So I'm really happy about this list. It's pretty cool that all these people are going to be here for the next 3 years.
That's true. And there are some names that are significantly missing from the list. Of course, Stephon Diggs. You've got Anthony Barr. You've got Trey Waynes. You've got a lot of those players that are significant on defense as well. Offensively, you got some offensive linemen. And there's only the 2 guys on the list there for the offensive line. So really, there's stability that needs to be found on offense, and Kyle Rudolph is the one that I really want to see how the Vikings are able to work once they get all these other big deals done, how they can sweep him back in. Hopefully he loves the team and takes a little bit of a hometown discount, but players shouldn't have to do that because teams should be a little smarter about their cap. But when you have so many young, talented players that you want to lock into place, you can't blame the Vikings for doing what they have to do to take care of the guys when they have to take care of them now.
That's
Absolutely
very true. I just feel that Spielman has done an excellent job with the names on that list of keeping them for the next few years, just to kind of piggyback and repeat. But I just feel like it's just really good business. So once again, for all the naysayers of Rick Spielman and his work overall, it's just like, come on.
Now there's also like Sheldon Richardson that might need to be re-signed. And you've got $11 million, I believe, or it was around $15 million that was available this season in salary cap. And then you've got next year, which was 11, and now that'll change thanks to the Danielle Hunter deal. And that'll adjust too based on whatever the salary cap increases. So whatever the Vikings are planning to do here as far as long-term with some of their players, I'm not quite sure. I was happy to see more deals getting done, but we'll talk more about Danielle Hunter himself a little bit later. So it's good to just see the main parts, the nucleus, the key figures, so many of them included in that list under contract for so long.
Yeah, I'll save another thing so we can split, kind of have like a main topic A and then a main topic B for later, because we were talking about two names that aren't on that list that has really sparked a lot of debate online for this entire offseason. So we can talk about Stephon Diggs and Anthony Barr a little later. Running through the quick hits, let's talk about Mike Zimmer, because there are two instances here where he's being ranked as a head coach that I want to get into, and just to see how far the gap is in between these two. Not a huge gap, but still a little bit of a distance. Sporting News ranked 32 head coaches. Mike Zimmer came in 7th. The quote says, Zimmer is the highest ranked coach without a Super Bowl. His no-nonsense approach is a perfect fit in Minnesota, where the Vikings have made a run to the NFC Championship game last season and appear to be the new team to beat in the NFC North. They should only get better with Kirk Cousins. O'Doyle rules. Okay. I think that's a fair assessment there with him at 7. I'll talk about mine from NFL.com in a minute, but I think this is a perfect rank. And I do see the need there. If you don't have a Super Bowl, I could see why those other 6 coaches would be in front of you. So I'm sure it was Bill Belichick, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, just to name a few. I can't think of the others off the top of my head. Mike Tomlin, maybe. I mean, those are all – they're in the playoffs every single year, if not competing for a conference championship. But so to have Mike Zimmer in there only going into his 5th season, that's pretty respectable.
Yeah, he's definitely elevated up real quickly and gotten a lot of respect really quickly. Turned around the defense much faster than so many fans expected. Implemented a new style of defense that has just wreaked havoc on opposing teams. There's so much that he's been able to do to institute this new feeling in the locker room even that has spread throughout the team. This hard-working yet, charitable atmosphere where a recent interview – Mike Zimmer said that not only does he want good players, but he wants good people. And that includes, giving back to the charity and just being an all-around good person when you have the opportunity. And we saw that transition in the Vikings locker room. We saw a lot of the problem players find their exit. And now you've got a team where you can kind of be proud once again to say you're a Vikings fan, which is
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. It's nice to not have the quarterback situation in limbo. I think everyone takes a huge stock in the defense. We've sort of hit the nail on the head. Just to jump back on what Dorian was saying from the GM, we've got some key players now that are kind of getting national attention now, and Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, however many people you want to name off the defense. So, yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. Having a sense of pride, because not so long ago, I remember in 2011 we were 3-13, and it was pretty much a bleep show. So
it was
bad.
Yes, it was. But man, I've never had so much faith in a coach, since day one. Since coach has been here, like never, second guessed or questioned anything that, whatever moves he's made, whatever decisions that that he made for the team on what to do, and obviously is paying dividends. And our stock is only rising even high, higher than what it already is right now. Like you said, we're getting respect now, throughout not only the league but worldwide now, where people are starting to recognize and give recognition to the Vikings, to saying certain players, and give that light and credit. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's compare these two here. I'm looking at Sporting News now, and I want to see the gap between. I'd like to get some interesting feedback for this. Adam's going to go through his site, The Viking Age, which you guys should all check out here shortly. We'll update on some more Vikings news, but check this out. Sporting News is not NFL.com, and this is This is from Bill Bender, it looks like, June 19th, a couple days ago, so maybe last week. Elliot Harrison did a list, and I'll just go through – I won't go through the entire list twice, but for Elliot Harrison's list here, obviously both of the sites have Bill Belichick at number 1. I think that's without question. Number 2, he has Sean Payton, which kind of baffled me. And then number 2 on Sporting News is Doug Peterson with the most recent Super Bowl win, which makes a lot of sense. He's the first guy to win in his first 3 years of coaching in 10 years since Mike Tomlin did that with the Steelers. I don't really necessarily agree with Sean Payton being there. It's kind of a – is it just me, or do Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy kind of resemble the same kind of deal?
I think Sean Payton deserves a little more respect for building the team the way he did. They've hit on so many of their draft picks lately, whether it's early, mid, late. They've turned a team around that had a struggling offensive line that couldn't protect anything, and a defense that you could throw on for days, and all they had was Drew Brees. And that's definitely not the case anymore. The Saints are definitely deserving a lot of credit, and the head coach should get a good portion of that.
You think he's supposed to be ranked second in the NFL? Because I don't see that with the continued success, though. Like,
I can see why he's ranked second. I probably wouldn't put him there, but I can see why he's there.
It's also another thing, too, like we've complained a million times, and we won't beat this in the ground, about the top 100 list. You know, what are the premises on these lists that everyone are making? Are we going on overall accomplishments? Are we going off of recent accomplishments? I don't really know. I digress. From NFL.com, they have Pete Carroll at number 3. Sporting News has Mike Tomlin. NFL has Mike Tomlin at 4, so I'm sure those will mirror each other. Yeah, 3 and 4, and then 4 and 3. At 5, we have Mike McCarthy. For NFL.com, they have John Harbaugh, which is an interesting choice because the Ravens have been pretty awful since the Super Bowl run, but that's the key word you say there, the Super Bowl run. 6 is Sean Payton on Sporting News. 6 is Mike McCarthy. 7, we have Andy Reid. Mike Zimmer comes in 7th, like we mentioned before, on Sporting News. So we'll go to NFL.com. They have the Super Bowl winning Doug Peterson at number 8. I'm sure they based this off of Elliot Harrison based this off of not having as much success because he's only been around for a short tenure.
Yeah, I think of it as not a long-term success. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Mm-hmm. At number 8 for Sporting News, we have Andy Reid. Dan Quinn is number 9 on their list, and Ron Rivera for the Panthers rounds out 10. Interesting point, and I want to talk about this. They have John Gruden at number 9 on NFL.com. Elliot Harrison does. And then here comes Mike Zimmer at 10. I don't understand this choice at number 9 because he's been in the booth for Monday night for how many years? Has he been out of the league for a decade?
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
That's insane to me.
It's been 10 years.
That's just absolutely insane. The game of football has changed so much since he's been around. And I'm not taking any of his accomplishments away, but that's just going on name basis right there. He's not proven anything for 10 years. And it wasn't exactly rainbows and whistles when he left the league. So I don't understand that choice. You guys can let us know if you're listening, if anybody's in the chat, or if you listen to this show later, let us know what you think about that. I think 7's a respectable number there for Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I like the respect of just being included at all. I mean, the fact that he's there when the franchise had gone through so many misses at head coaches is great.
Yep, it's nice to be back on the list. What do you have over there on the Viking Age for us today, Adam?
Well, let's roll through some stuff here. I recently wrote an article on the Viking Age about the inception of the Thielen Foundation. Adam Thielen and his wife Caitlin starting up the foundation and also holding a football camp already. I mean, they started up and then boom, football camp. So nice to see that. And let's be honest, Adam Thielen's one of those players that always gives back completely. You always see him at so many events. And these guys that I talked to here are probably sick of me talking about, I went to the coffee shop and Adam Thielen was there signing autographs and selling coffee.
Man, I wish I lived up there.
But yeah, he is definitely a guy who loves his community and loves his fans. And it's just so great to see him doing all of that. The mission statement for the Thielen Foundation: Adam Thielen is an American football wide receiver who plays in the NFL for the Minnesota Vikings. Together with his wife Caitlin and son Asher, the Thielen Foundation has been formed to help serve, educate, and inspire people to achieve their full potential. That's all. That's great. I love it.
Can we say enough things about Adam Thielen, which is, everything that is awesome and good and wonderful? I don't think we can. I don't think that's possible.
The Vikings as a whole, I love how much they've transitioned to building this air of of giving back, of generosity, of charity, of school buildings, and making these playgrounds and doing hospitals. Just so many wonderful things that make me so happy to be a Vikings fan. I don't see this from a lot of other franchises. I don't see pieces floating around of a lot of these other teams having players going and visiting troops and going to the hospital to visit sick kids and all these kind of things. So it gives me an extra sense of pride to be a Vikings fan knowing all this stuff.
What's crazy too about this show is we're all from different states. We all have this common thing together, and it's something cool to be proud about, like you said. And it really encompasses that thing that I've noticed from my couple of visits to Minnesota. They call it Minnesota nice. And all you guys that are actually from there, I mean, this is nothing new to you, but I didn't know what that was. Essentially,
it's a real thing.
It truthfully is. Somebody paid for my gas while it was like January time, but just because I was an out of towner and they were just being generous, and it was like that's crazy. You guys actually do that here.
It's a thing.
Everyone will hold the door for you. Everybody's going to try to engage in a conversation. You're like the Southerners of the North, which is great, except you don't have that obnoxious accent like we have. You just have, oh,
don't you know?
Don't you know? Yeah.
And when we're talking about all these camps and foundations, Kyle Rudolph was holding the Hyundai Youth Camp at the training facility for the Minnesota Vikings last weekend, and I got to go and check it out. There were so many kids everywhere, and he was walking around, make sure to interact with every group of kids, and there were football skills being learned and life skills being learned, lots of cool stuff being given away. He signed a photo of himself for everybody there. He took a photo with every kid that passed through.
That's incredible.
The time and effort that Kyle Rudolph puts into giving back to the community, to the kids. There's no wonder that he's represented the Vikings with, what is the Ed Block Award, I believe?
I think so.
For giving back on and off the field. So, yeah, I think that he took over for Chad Greenway as soon as Greenway left. And since then, Kyle Rudolph has just been, the man when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. I had a wonderful time. It's my second time meeting him. I got to meet him at the grand opening of the TCO Performance Center with the, what's that called? The training house. So it was real cool to meet him again. He took some time to speak with the media. We got the interview of that up on the Viking Age as well. I got to ask him a couple obvious questions, which was nice. Everybody was asking these really weird questions about the Vikings offense, using multiple tight end sets and everything. And that's not really why he was there. He was there to help promote the event, talk about how the team gives back and just encourage kids to be more active. And everybody else wanted to ask him about specifics on the football field. And it's like, that's not why he's there. I get that you want to ask these questions, but you kind of have to go through the motions a little bit as well. You got to play the game.
There's no way. If I'm up there, I'm not talking about the Minneapolis Miracle and who's going to get cut from the team. I'm going to be like, Kyle, you know what we're doing? We're going to go out. I'm going to buy you a beer, and we're going to be friends on Instagram because we're going to be the best two friends that anybody's ever had. All right.
But I do have to say that practice facility in Egan, have you guys ever stepped on artificial turf?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
It is such a weird feeling. Like the first time you step on it, feels so spongy and unnatural. Then as soon as you start walking around on it, you forget that you're walking on artificial turf and you think it's grass. It's weird.
You know what was crazy? I don't know if it was our game last year or if it was a Super Bowl or when the hell it was. The Pats-Falcons Super Bowl, whenever. I think it had to have been at US Bank Stadium. I think it's coming to me. But I didn't understand how it came about and how what all came into artificial turf, how the rubber pellets go down, which, I see it makes sense for the absorption of impact whenever that happens. But I remember there being a game where they had to get the ground crew out because it was just all kinds of tore up. And the guy was he was a miracle worker. And it was a football game. I can't remember whose team it was and what stadium, but I that's crazy to me. What? So you're telling me it feels bouncy, kind of like a playground, and then once you get moving, you don't notice it at all?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I had never stepped foot on this stuff before, and it was such a different experience. I got to wander around. I went on my Instagram, and I took photos. I took a video of all the banners that were surrounding the practice facility from all the division championships and the 69 NFL championship and all that. It's such a great blend of future, present, and past that it kind of gets you a little bit, especially when you see the kids running around on the field.
Evolution, if you will.
And there was a little girl that had a cannon. I wouldn't be surprised if she was the Vikings quarterback in 10 years. Good Lord. She could throw a football. I tell you, some of these kids, so talented.
I love it.
So talented. All right, so let's move on a little bit. Twitter. Stefan Diggs went on Twitter and said that he wants the Vikings to start wearing the purple on purple uniform combinations. And responding to that, Kyle Rudolph said he wants to see the white on white jersey combinations. They don't want to see this mix and match stuff anymore. What do you guys think?
I personally love the color rush. I love solid everything. But I would like to see white Vikings uniform with the purple stripe, all the way down, purple lettering, white jerseys, and then the purple helmets. I think that would look awesome. But it goes away from the dominant color that is the Vikings, Minnesota purple. So that would be weird, but I'm all for it just to give it one shot. I don't think anything could be any uglier than those Jacksonville helmets that have finally gone away this season. Or those Steelers prison uniforms.
How about the Tampa Bay alarm clock numbering?
That's pretty bad, along with the throwback Packers, the brown and the blue. I mean, I get that there's history behind it, but I think it's ugly as sin. So even our worst still won't be as bad as some of the other teams.
That's what I'm kind of I know it won't happen, but I like our old jerseys. Like, that would be kind of nice, like a modern day version of the classic.
The throwback.
Of the classic. Yeah, classic throwbacks, like the jerseys that we wore in '98.
I can definitely see that.
I know what you're talking about. I think we did it in 2013. I remember Jared Allen and Adrian Peterson wearing those, and I was a big fan. So, yeah, if we could do that, not all the time. I like the different uniform combinations, but if we could do it a couple of times a season and pick different ones out, that'd be pretty sweet. I think weren't they going to try that? Didn't they try it last year? All the Thursday night games were going to be color rushes at some point.
Yeah.
That idea is pretty
And we had
cool
the colorblind game. I don't know why people did that.
The colorblind game.
You couldn't. Colorblind people couldn't tell those teams apart. It was insane.
That's terrible.
Oh,
wow. Which teams were those?
Oh, man. I want to say it was the teams were red and green. I want to say it was the Jets and the
Falcons or the Buccaneers or the Chiefs.
Falcons, I want to say. If you'll buy me a little time, I'll check.
I would have said Seattle because, you see how,
Yeah, those neon green ones, they go back to the day. Those are like the representation of the 1990 colors. Like
it was Jets and Bills, the green and the red, that was just messing with everybody. That was colorblind. Couldn't tell one bit.
Damn. I feel bad for laughing now. Please forgive me.
Which Buffalo with the red color rush, I mean, it's interesting, but, what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on a little bit more, we got the Pro Football Writers Association giving the Pete Rozelle Award to the Minnesota Vikings. That award goes to the excellence in public relations staff, and Minnesota does a fantastic job of that. Not only are they very interactive on Twitter during games in the regular season, they'll always be tweeting out highlights, sometimes giving giveaways, notifying of events in the area. They do a wonderful job as well of promoting the new stadium, the new practice facility, and so many things. So I really see this as a great award for them. It's the first time the Vikings have won the award since the inception, so big thumbs up to them, and thank you for all you do.
That's awesome. That's a good thing to have. It's just another one of those awards and those warm and fuzzies that we get for talking about this team, for all the good things they do off the field.
Yeah, the people behind the scenes that, just don't always get the recognition they deserve.
I love it.
Sergio Moreno wants the jerseys with the Norseman on the sleeves.
Oh, that's a good one.
Joseph Robinson remembers that Bills-Jets game pretty vividly.
I'm sure you did. It probably made you go colorblind for how bright they were.
Oh, that was something. Oh, yeah. Which game? There was another game, too, where both teams had, like, highlighter color.
It was the Rams, wasn't it? The Rams and someone else?
That one just hurt my eyes watching. I don't know.
You know what? The NFL does a pretty good job overall with a lot of things, but that was just not something that they succeeded at. Those 2 games specifically, somebody should have came in for quality control and be like, you know what, guys, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, someone dropped the ball on that one. The Minnesota Vikings and Chris Kluwe hosted the LGBTQ Summit at the at the facility in Eagan. It was the first of its kind. There were several teams of both the NFL as well as Minnesota teams and outside teams attending. It was to promote inclusion in sports, to get everybody involved. And honestly, everybody should have the same kind of opportunities to play sports, no matter what your sexual preference, race, religion, or whatever is. So I'm glad to see that everybody wants to have the same kind of opportunities to play sports as everyone else. And it's kind of disappointing that it took a summit like this that was attended by 150 individuals, mostly members of the media and staff of other teams, to get that kind of point across. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
You guys ready for a Kyle Smith rant right here? Because it's about to happen. All right. I am so happy, especially during, I believe this is still Pride Month for the month of June.
Yes.
That our team is supported on this. All right. I come from the Bible Belt, the Bible thumping South, and I have my religion preferences. I have everything that I believe in, but overall it comes down to being a good person. Shouldn't discriminate people because of their race, their sexual orientation, their faith, anything like that. Like Adam just mentioned. Chris Kluwe's been an activist for the LGBT community for quite some time. He's been pretty outspoken. He was an outspoken person on social media anyways. But just the fact that you have enough balls to do something like this says a lot for you as a person, and for Chris and the Vikings too, to just accept everyone. But I saw a lot of backlash on this, and still we're talking about backlash about the gay community or whatever your title is. And then we're talking about people still, oh, I'm not going to the game because of this anthem stuff. I'm just going to make it short and sweet because I don't want to sound like a jerk the whole time I'm on here. Nobody fucking cares if you don't like that, okay? Nobody cares about your sexual orientation, and you shouldn't care about someone else's. And if you need that person, just like people who bash cops, just like all these bad things, if you need that person one day in your life, you're going to look like an asshole. And I'm sorry for the language, but I'm really proud of my team, the team that I support, and I'm glad that everyone got together, even if it was a small number, because it's no different than if it was an African-American movement. It doesn't matter if there's only 3 people there. If you have someone there and you took the time, that initiates change, and we're going to be going forward. And I'm sad that this is happening in 2018 when this should have happened in 1918 or earlier. But same thing going forward. The same thing about the people that are, I'm not going to the game, and people are kneeling and blah, blah. Okay, then don't go. The NFL doesn't care about you, and they're going to succeed without you. Go away. We don't care about your political beliefs or your agenda on the side, all right? Thank you, Vikings, for moving forward and being progressive.
Now, this is something that Chris Kluwe did work into his agreement with the Vikings after everything that went down, including Mike Prefer and everything. After he left the Vikings, there was kind of a sour taste, but they were able to work through things. Mm-hmm. And I was glad to see that promoting more inclusion is something that Chris Kluwe has always pushed for. And I also wanted to add that the Minnesota Vikings were participating and did have a tent down at Pride Fest here in Minneapolis.
Very cool.
So they did have a presence there. COO Kevin Warren was there in person greeting people. So not only is this something that's important to the team because of the settlement, but it shows that they want inclusion themselves, and for someone so high of stature in the company to show up at the event means so much too.
Dorian, I know you want to get in there.
Yes, thank you. I was going to make a joke, but I don't know. First and foremost, bravo, Mr. Smith. I appreciate your commentary. I agree with everything that you said, sir. I was just going to make a joke about, Chris Kluwe. I'm like, he's just doing all this because he wants to get back on the team. He wants to play some football, so he has to play the game. But like I said, it was just a joke. But I am so proud to be a Minnesota Vikings fan, just overall. And this goes beyond the football field, just with everything that we talked about before. And with this current topic right now, it really warms the cockles of my heart, and I swell with pride, Say
Oh,
what
absolutely.
I'm a Vikings fan. But no, but this is just really cool, really awesome, and man, just hey.
How hard does that have to be, though? Let's talk about it a little bit more. How hard is it for someone to love a sport so much, but you're a homosexual or bisexual, transsexual, whatever your orientation is, knowing that you can't be adamant about it? Like, I've never actually physically got to hang out with you guys, but I consider you guys some of my good friends because this is what we share every week. We talk in between the shows. For you guys that don't watch the show or don't talk to us personally on the side, we message each other every single day. I have a friendship with you guys. How isolated and alone would you feel if you love something so passionately, but you would get hated on, discriminated against? You know, that's no different than if you're surrounded by bigots and racists or people who hate your religion or whatever it is. So it's cool to have this welcoming here because, like I said, man, you gotta send out the love and you gotta be respectful to everybody. And it's so out of date and out of touch to hate someone for something so simple, man.
All it takes is promoting an atmosphere of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, changing the course of the locker room. I understand that in the locker room, there are a lot of terms and activities that have been good for many, many years. But, you know, with time, things change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that some of these changes that are being implemented are for the better.
I agree. It just really doesn't make any sense. You know, how I was brought up. I was brought up to, you know, not to judge anybody and to respect others because in return you want that respect back.
Absolutely.
So, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? Who am I to tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what you should like, what you know what I'm saying, should dislike, you know, all that. Because I know doggone well that I wouldn't want anybody to dictate what I do and dictate my life, you know.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to sexual orientation or whatever, it's just like, okay, it's not even the topic of a discussion. Okay, you gay? All right, cool, whatever. Hey,
right?
You know, does your boyfriend want to join us to watch the game? Does your girlfriend want to? You know, whatever. You know, the case may be. It's just, you know, it's just real ridiculous that, you know, like I said, 28. You know, it's 2018 and we still gotta go through this BS.
Not cool.
Like continue to break walls and barriers that should have already been broken.
All right, let's move on from that and let's talk about the Minneapolis Miracle some more. It seems like every week we're talking about something. But the Minneapolis Miracle, that game is up for 2 SB awards this year.
It's bringing home something.
It is one of the plays involved in the best play bracket. It is the number 2 seed. And the first round is going up against William Carlson's between the leg goal in the NHL, which I feel like it's got a good chance of advancing into the next round. So fingers crossed there. Otherwise, it is up for best moment, which includes Mississippi State beating Notre Dame for the NCAA title, the Golden Knights, Cinderella run, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And this is the one that I think is going to beat the Vikings. I think this one's got it. I think UMBC upsetting Virginia, the 16 seed beating the 1. I think that's going to win.
that was crazy. Yeah, man, you forget that happened in this year too, because we just have sports nonstop pretty much, except for the months of July and part of June. That's it. Those are all good contenders, though. I'm glad you brought those up because I forgot about some of those.
Yeah, you can head on over and vote on the SB website.
I think I'll do that.
Definitely worth a go. So I don't think it's much of a surprise, but you guys probably already know who the Vikings' top-selling jersey of the last few months is, right?
Like that?
It
Hell
is.
Yeah.
According to Dick's Sporting Goods, Kirk Cousins' jersey is the team's top-selling jersey. Not really much of a surprise at all. Stephon Diggs is second at the 83rd best-selling jersey. Case Keenum was 45th. That to me was a little surprising to see him. But Denver is taking to him pretty well. They really believe they're getting a good quarterback, and I agree. So hopefully they're real happy with what they've got, and we can be real happy with what we got, and we can all move forward. Harrison Smith was 101st. Anthony Barr, 105. So there were quite a few Vikings in the rankings, and it's good to see Harrison Smith getting more love as well as Anthony Barr.
That's awesome. Just about to crack the top 100. That's really good.
Because I personally buy a lot of jerseys because I'm going to start getting them signed. That's my plan. I'm moving on from photos, doing more jerseys. Why not, right?
I hate to jump back to this, but I'm on the ESPYs voting, and this is awesome. I'm so sad that I didn't do this before. Best Olympic moment, best game, record-breaking performance, championship performance. This is great.
Hey,
sports fans will love going through that. It's like a trip down memory lane.
Find out if you can vote more than once, because if you can vote more than once, then I encourage everybody in the chat and all of us to just go on the SB website and just vote. Minneapolis Miracle.
I always tell people in my articles, you don't have to vote for the Minneapolis Miracle if you don't think it was the best player, the best game, or whatever. But still, you should vote and have your voice heard. And I think that's the most important thing.
Oh, that's just a politically correct answer, Adam. Come on. We can shield for the Minnesota
I don't know if we talked about this last week or not. Did we talk about Hercules Matafa ending on IR and signing Mike Needham?
I cannot remember.
Not the signing, but we did talk about Herc. But I didn't know we signed anybody. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, Mike Needham. Needham. I made a joke about Needham in the article, and it's probably not a good one. It's a dad joke, but sometimes you got to go for a dad joke. Southern Utah linebacker.
Is funny with it. You're good.
Last year, he had 100 tackles in college, which is pretty darn impressive. 7 pass breakups, 2 fumble recoveries. He's got a lot of productive numbers under his belt heading to the Vikings, so maybe it's something to take a look at. And the Vikings don't have a lot of depth at linebacker, so you never know. You never know.
Speaking of linebackers, Michael Kendricks, is he still on the market, or did he sign somewhere already?
He ripped into whoever broke his news about, oh, you're not trustworthy, I'll never trust you. And then a day later, the deal was confirmed. It's like, oh, spoiler alert, you're going to the Browns and you're getting paid a ton of money. But it's not even a ton of money, actually. It's not a crazy deal, but it was a day early, and he ripped the reporter for it. It was kind of a weird, douchey moment from him. So maybe that was a blessing.
It was odd.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's with the Cleveland Browns.
He is.
The soon-to-be 7-9, calling it right now. Cleveland
Which was
Browns.
exactly where Ian Rappaport said he was going.
Oh, Ian Rappaport, the rap sheet. Yeah, that was weird.
And he tweeted him, said, I'll never respect you, and just went off, and then that was true anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds very random. If that's what it was going to be, I can understand him being upset for, his business being leaked out there before he wanted it to. I can understand that, but to talk shit, excuse my language, about a person and then it's true. Come on. Yeah, I think there needs to be a retraction from Kendricks, and he needs to just eat that big plate of crow.
It's not going to happen, though.
But he can afford it. He can afford it.
That's fine. Just how about he's on the Browns now and he can deal with that?
So the Madden 19 ratings were released for the upcoming game. Do you guys want to guess where the Vikings landed? What their rating is for the season?
I think I saw this. Wasn't it like 82? 82,
right on the nose. They are the 6th ranked franchise according to the game. Eagles at 90, the Patriots at 84. The Falcons at 83, Steelers 83, Saints 83, and then you got the Vikings and Jaguars at 82. I don't know if you guys play Madden or not. I don't. I haven't played in several years. But I do know a lot of people who do play. And if you are playing, you got a lot of talented players on the Vikings and one of the best rated teams. So it'd be a good choice.
I do not. I don't have a gaming system, but when I do get one eventually, that'll be one of the games that I purchase so I can do the impossible and make the Vikings win multiple Super Bowls.
There you go.
I have an update for you, Dorian. I'm on the ESPYs voting again. You can vote once a day. And I need to have this question answered right now. The best bowler. How can you not vote for the guy whose name is Rhino Page? I don't care about any of these other guys on this list. When I see that name, I'm clicking on it.
Rhino Page.
Rhino Page, the best bowler. You don't want to mess with that guy.
I'm Rhino Page. How bold strikes, just strikes after strikes. You know, I eat chicken fried steak after I finish bowling.
I'm trying to
I
figure
don't know
out.
if that's how he sounds, but that's just in my head. That's how Rhino Page. That's how I talk after I bowl. You know?
I don't know where his Rhino Page is from, but I guess it's close to where I grew up. I'm gonna guess.
Fanalytics with Mike Lewis released a list of their NFL Fan and Brand Report 2018, where they ranked teams based on their fan, social, and road equity, and the Vikings didn't fare very well. They came in 24th on this. Their fan equity was rated 21. That includes how much they spend on merchandise and how much time the ticket sales and whatnot. Social equity is where I really got confused because the Vikings came in 29th. And if you are active on Minnesota Vikings Twitter or Instagram or wherever you're at, you usually see a ton of Minnesota Vikings activity. So I was surprised to see that be so low. Road equity was 15, meaning that they're above average when it comes to drawing when you go to another team's stadium. So that makes sense. But yeah, that's social equity that pulled the Vikings down so far. I don't agree with that one. I know that the Vikings share their #Vikings hashtag with the TV show, and that might cause some kind of confusion or something like that. But I don't know. I just don't buy it.
It's all just personal opinion on most of these articles like that. Even for the rankings, you know, I could put somebody down farther because this and I don't like it, and everyone else says, "Well, we enjoy that." What are you talking about?
Well, this was made primarily based on social media followers and stuff like that. And because Minnesota is a smaller market, I can understand why the number is smaller. But if you change it to based on number of interactions to get a more accurate view of how passionate the fan base is, I think that you'd get a much different result.
I can't base anything off of a social media following because there are athletes out there that don't have millions of followers. There are girls that show their nice rear ends and short thongs every day, and they have 8 million followers. And it's like, okay, who has a bigger stance in society? Who's a better business person? Blah blah blah. That's pretty. Oh, I have this many. You know, that's a crazy thing too. Oh, I can see that being a thing on a resume here shortly for some jobs if it's not already. It's like
number of Instagram followers.
Also, I have 8,000 people that follow me on Instagram. What? Get out. Get out of my office right now.
So Vikings training camp, the dates have been announced. The autograph sessions that accompany them have been announced. You can buy your tickets now. They were available on Monday. I already picked up my tickets for the wide receiver session. And I got one more I got to pick because each person can attend 2 with their Vikings account. So I'm going to try to hit up wide receiver, and then I'm trying to debate between safety, cornerback, or wide receiver. No, I already got or quarterbacks. I already got wide receiver. But still, it's pretty cool that you can go watch practices, go get some autographs. They got cheaper food there than at the stadium, so you can go grab 2 hot dogs and a pop for $5 or something like that. It's going to be a good time. This is at TCO Performance Center. It's a practice field for the Vikings.
What is this pop that you speak of?
That is hilarious. He said pop.
Yeah, soda pop.
Oh, he got the first one right. Yeah, I got you.
I got to clarify things for those Southerners that don't understand what pop is.
That Midwest thing y'all call pop. It's so funny, man. I love it.
It's great stuff. Finally, the last thing I want to touch on is, and this amused me to no end. So I've got to mention it, even though we could totally not mention this and it'd be fine, but I got to do it. David Carr, analyst on NFL.com.
Oh, dear Jesus Christ. I know what you're going to talk about.
Released his article of the top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2018, and his list is mildly, I'll go a little bit higher than mildly. It's quite hilarious. 1 and 2, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, sure, you could flip-flop them. You can do whatever you want, but those 2 should be the top 2. Number 3, Drew Brees. Sure, I can follow that.
Yep.
Number 4, he puts his brother Derek Carr.
You're an idiot. The list should stop right there. All right, he's out. He's on
top 3. He had me. I was like, okay, I can follow this. He leaves off Ben Roethlisberger because he says that Ben's wide receivers make him great.
Jesus Christ.
And then even his 3 honorable mentions, Ben Roethlisberger, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz. He's got Jimmy Garoppolo in his top 10 at number 10.
Where's Russell Wilson in this?
Russell Wilson was number 5.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so he did make the list, just under his brother.
It sounds like his time in Houston, all them sacks that he took, clearly affected this list right here. Oh, my God.
Now, another thing that's interesting about this and why I brought it up is because there's a name that is missing from that list that should definitely be included. And it is Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins.
Trevor Siemian. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Trevor Siemian.
Now, I don't know how high a lot of people rank Cousins. You'll find people evaluating him all over the place. But when you take a look at the numbers that Kirk Cousins has been putting out over a consistent basis, last 3 years, 4,000 yards each. Last year he was 7th in passing touchdowns, 7th in passing yards, 8th in touchdown passes, 8th in first downs, 5th in plays of 20 or plus yards, tied for 9th in plays of 40 plus yards. The fact that he isn't a part of any kind of top 10 after numbers like that, consistently putting up numbers like that, I really do think that he's being overlooked. And, well, you can, put as much faith as you want into the analysis of David Carr. I think that we are seeing too much disrespect when it comes to what Cousins has been able to do on the field.
I can't take a guy seriously who puts David Carr over Russell Wilson. Or Derek Carr over Russell. It sounds like he's just trying to live vicariously through his brother, because his brother's already better than he was. So
I don't blame him for loving his brother. I don't blame him for wanting the best for his brother or thinking his brother's awesome. That's all great.
Yeah, I guess.
But when you're an NFL analyst, you got to put a little bit of that aside and say, you know what, Russell Wilson might be a little bit better quarterback than my brother right now.
Good Lord.
Yes.
He's drinking.
Your brother is coming off of injury. I mean, hey, we'll go back. I'll give credit where it's due. I don't know if I shared this with you guys just real quick. I actually wanted Derek Carr.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Over Teddy Bridgewater.
Don't blame you one bit. That'd have been a solid choice.
So I mean, I'm giving his brother all the credit and due, and pretty much Oakland, if he's healthy, obviously, what was it, a couple years back with Oakland could have easily went to the Super Bowl. They could have went through Could have went through New England like a hot butter knife through butter.
So, as a fan of Derek Carr, are you saying that he is somewhere near the 4th best quarterback in the NFL?
Hell fucking no. I'm just giving credit where it's due, but I mean, come on, you gotta be realistic. I mean, Kyle, you said it yourself. Like, where's Russell Wilson? If we're doing this overall and resume,
he's not even the best quarterback in his division, much less 4th overall. He's not better than Phillip Rivers. Are you talking? Not even in his division, much less overall in the NFL. Like, I would take Phillip Rivers over Derek Carr right now. He's done more and he's played better and consistently. This makes my head hurt.
Phillip Rivers was 7th. This list, I had to write about it on the Viking Age because I just sat there and looked at this and I was like, I don't know what to make of this. Ben Roethlisberger's bad because he has great wide receivers. But then, yeah, he's got him at 11th. Ben Roethlisberger is 11th and didn't make the top 10. Said just outside because he has the most talented skill players in the league on his unit.
I can't.
That's so asinine on so many levels.
And yet Matt Ryan with an unbelievable receiving duo out of the backfield and possibly the most talented wide receiver in the league on his team, number 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we move on, please?
Yeah. We got a main topic here, so I'll let Mr. Smith take it back over.
So we talked about it earlier, and I have it here in my my browser for my phone on standby. We named the show after Danielle Hunter today because that boy got paid, and I am so excited for him. Young guy. The Vikings they're doing the right things with these guys. They're showing them about a year earlier or so that, hey, we're invested in you, because it's worked out for players like Xavier Rhodes, and now Everson Griffin was the recent one, Eric Kendricks, just to name a few. But Danielle Hunter signs a 5-year, $72 million extension. All right, this is $40 million guaranteed, and today he got a $15 million signing bonus. Pretty crazy for a 3rd-round pick. Not so. It's more crazy because of his position that he plays. We've seen 3rd-round picks get paid like this, like Russell Wilson comes to mind. But for a defensive end who is only, what, 23?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. The Vikings put out a tweet today with a video of him tearing apart Jared Goff and their offensive line. He's only been in the league for 3 years. He has 147 tackles, 36 tackles for loss, and 25.5 sacks. That's 8.5 sacks a year average since he's came in the league. And, guys, you got to remember, one of the reasons they took a big chance on him was he was a developmental defensive end. We knew that he was athletic. We knew he was strong. But we're like, hey, he's got to get more polished. He's got to get his technique down, all those good things. He got 10.5 sacks, and he wasn't even starting a couple of years ago. What? We knew that he was going to be the successor to Brian Robinson eventually, but now it's finally here, and he's gotten paid for it, and I'm super pumped for the guy. And like we said, this guy's 23. This is when some people come into the league.
Now, I'll be one of the first to admit right off the bat, I did not think this deal was going to be this large. It's more money than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to get somewhere around 9 to 10. But I guess you got to give some credit to Danielle Hunter's agent, as well as the smart move of putting so much down on the signing bonus of this. Sure, it's going to take away nearly all the salary cap of the Vikings this year, but it opens up so much money for next year that the Vikings should be able to work something out between backloading some deals, since most of the deals right now are front-loaded, like this Danielle Hunter deal, to be able to sign some of these other players that they might need. Now, you've got Danielle Hunter, you've got Everson Griffin, you've got this bookend in place for several more years, and you've got the interior of the defensive line where you got Linval Joseph, who got locked down to a nice deal. You got Sheldon Richardson in there, who's hoping to prove himself and stick around for a while. This whole defensive unit has so much talent, and you can't throw money at all of them. But yet, Danielle Hunter, I don't know how Mike Zimmer was able to take this raw talent that I personally thought, after watching on tape, was going to take 2-3 seasons to be ready to play. And I thought, well, he's young enough that they can gamble on him, they can let him develop, and they can see what they have. And no, Zimmer took him, put him right into place, and worked with him and turned him into this immediate monster on the outside. Whether it's his freakish speed or his insane strength, Danielle Hunter can really do almost anything. And as he keeps refining his skills, learning more moves to beat offensive tackles, it's going to become even bigger. So, yes, I do think that it was a little much for the player right now. And I think that's the same thing people got caught up in when they were looking at the Everson Griffin deal, that for the time he was signing, it seemed like a little much at that time. But give Danielle Hunter a little bit of time. He will. I believe this, and the team believes this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given him the money. That he will become this kind of player that is making this kind of money and deserves every penny.
The thing that gets me wrapped up is there's a lot of armchair GMs on the internet. I saw one today, and it was so funny because it was after people started just annihilating him on Facebook, he got rid of it. So he couldn't handle how much fact was being thrown at him. But it was a Detroit Lion fan, so I'll throw that out there now. It's probably just bitter because they've had like one playoff win in 60 years. I said something about, well, with this deal and the Cousins deal, the Vikings are going to be bankrupt next year, and they're going to be screwed. Bank on it. And it was like, people don't take into consideration the salary cap just keeps going up, which opens up more money. And then also, like we were talking about earlier, there are lots of players on rookie deals, which is a very smaller scale, sometimes a minimum deal. There are veteran minimum deals for people like Terrence Newman. There are one-year prove-it deals. But like you were talking about just now, the front-loaded stuff opens up things for next year because we have to pre-plan for guys that will potentially depart. That means we've got to add people, and we've got to sign our draft picks. So the two things that I want to hit on here is, you know how the Patriots will let a player go about a year earlier than you probably should because they feel like they can move on. They'd rather let go of a player a year early than keep him a year too long. I think we're doing the reverse kind of thing here. as far as it comes to the salary cap, I really do believe the person running the Vikings salary cap is going to start a trend and a change throughout the NFL for what they're doing, because they've got this down to a science. To have all the players that we have, and they're not all, just amazing draft picks, even though Rick Spielman has done a great job with the draft picks. We brought in some significant free agents too, and we found a way to keep them.
Now, Mike Hughes still hasn't signed his rookie deal, right?
Mike Hughes still hasn't signed? Let's take a look.
Because you got to talking about rookies signing their deals, and I remembered writing up articles on just about every one of them and saying that Mike Hughes was the last one who hasn't. And I don't remember writing a piece that said that he finally did.
June 5th. Mike Hughes is pretty close to signing a rookie deal. That was June 5th, so almost a month ago. Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet, so let's look here. Let's see what Over the Cap says while you guys fill in for me. I'm trying to find
sure. In the chat, we've got Yang Yaj and Joseph Robinson talking about Danielle Hunter not really being a productive pass rusher in college and then coming to the NFL and just coming into his own. And it's great to see that kind of play coming from a guy who may not have been on a lot of teams' radar during the draft.
When he came in with us, wasn't he considered a hybrid player? Like, they really didn't know where to place him. Like, it wasn't just automatic. He wasn't just an automatic lock on on defensive end, was he? Because I just remember hearing something like he kind of like Zimmer kind of like, I remember he just got plugged in, here and there just to kind of see, and it was results like every.
Yeah, they just had him down as an edge player.
Oh,
so I don't know whether that was defensive end or outside linebacker or whatever teams were looking at him for, if they were looking at him at all, which I bet, considering his lack of production and really unrefined skill set, I'm guessing a lot of teams didn't even have him on their boards.
Well, good for us. Not bad for a budding player, huh, Ian Rappaport?
A budding player. I like it.
I had to Google that today. I was like, what? Okay. It doesn't. I'm on Over the Cap right now, but it doesn't have an official signed date.
I am pretty sure he has not signed his deal yet.
I don't think so either, man. I'm looking here. The 2018 salary cap charge for Mike Hughes is $480,000. His total contract value is $9,867,000. His annual contract value each year is almost $2.5 million. Compared to what everyone else makes at his position in the league, he's well below because he's a rookie. There was no guaranteed money either. So, yeah, he hasn't signed anything yet.
Yeah, so that's something to kind of watch and pay a little bit of attention to.
Yeah, that's weird. Is he trying to get, like, extra ice cream or something? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe he's got that Marcus Mariota thing where he wants to go surfing, but he can't according to his contract.
We can save that for a later day, but I'd really like to understand what happens if you're not like the number, top 10 pick or something like that. I know the value goes down and the number goes down. The number one pick is going to get millions and millions of dollars. Here we are, only the 30th overall pick, and it's talking about his cut for the first year is like $480,000. So I'm wondering what these guys do in between the time from the draft, post-college, till the time that they would play and get to sign and get paid a check from the NFL. How are they doing?
I'm sure their agents float them a little bit of cash in the meantime.
Yeah, they can't officially. I don't know. Maybe they can't officially say that, but
I'm not saying it in any official capacity, but I'm sure that's what happens.
I would love to hear more about it and more in-depth stuff about it.
Yeah, I don't know if Drew Rosenhaus has ever just come out and said, yeah, in between time, my client, I loaned him $500,000, yeah, just to tie him over until his next paycheck,
Just to tie him over.
Till those millions start rolling in.
I feel horrible when I have to ask people for $1 to go to the snack machine at work.
That's how it works, man. That's how it works.
So let's transition to topic B for this conversation, because I really want to know what people have to say. If you're going to watch the show later, for the guys in the chat, obviously, tell us what you think. Give us your honest opinion and why. If you watch the show later, shoot us a message. We'll make a comment about it. We'll make it the social media question. We can tie it next week because I really wanted to get people's thoughts here. So we got Eric Kendricks locked up now. Today we lock up Danielle Hunter. So what's left, and General Manager Rick Spielman was asked today about it, is what's up with Stephon Diggs and Anthony Barr? And he said, we've been working close. We're getting closer to signing and extending both of those guys. The hot commodity to talk about on Facebook or whatever social media is that apparently the Vikings don't really need Anthony Barr, but it's a must that we must sign Stephon Diggs back. And I'm not saying negative about either or player, because if we lose one and keep the other, it's apples to oranges there. I think they're about the same at each position. I think their counterpart at the same position is a little bit better than them, but they are a very, very key piece to what we do here. Now, I know that the D-line and the DBs take a lot of pressure off of the linebacking core for the Vikings. My comment is, if we get rid of Anthony Barr, who is going to come in and immediately replace him and be better? We'd have to go sign a free agent, because there's nobody else on the roster that's going to come in and play better than him. And Eric Kendricks is already locked up. I'm not talking about replacing him and putting him in Anthony Barr's outside linebacker spot. So what do you guys think when it comes down to brass tacks? Do you think we'll get both of them signed? Or if you have to pick one and you're the GM right now, who are you going to keep?
Mr. Carlson, I'll let you go. I still need to think about my answer.
Well, this is the question that we've been talking about for a long time, is who's going to be the odd man out when it comes to these contract extensions. And I've always said that it's going to be either Diggs or Barr.
You have.
Ends up on the short side of things. And I do think that this big signing bonus opens up the realm to where there are possibilities to where these deals could be worked out, especially if one or both of these guys are willing to take backloaded contracts. But that all said, I do think that, and as much as I hate to say it, I think that the Vikings could get by a little easier without Barr than they could without Diggs.
I'm 1,000% with you, and the only reason is not to take away from Anthony Barr, and I really don't want to see him go.
It's the lack of depth at linebacker. That's really all it is.
Well, we have to look traditionally, too, as which have the Vikings always been good at. I know last year the offense was top 10. Since 1998, I don't think the offense has been maybe the Favre season they were top 10. So maybe twice in the last 20 years we've been top 10 in offense and in defense. But when Mike Zimmer comes in, no matter what, wherever he goes, the defense is automatically boosting up 5, 10, 12 spots. We've been top 10 for the last 3 years. We were top 5 last year before this past season. We were number 1 mostly for this past season, arguably with the Jaguars and the Eagles. So I think if you're going to replace a player, it's easier to replace somebody in a Mike Zimmer defense than to whoever's running the offense. Because John DeFilippo with us, he hasn't proven anything yet. And Diggs, I'll get the Minneapolis Miracle all the way. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people if they see the guy who had one of the most iconic moments in the franchise leave. But
you didn't see that when Kirk Cousins or when Case Keenum left.
No, you didn't.
Right.
It's crazy. And I think it's going to be easier to replace Anthony Barr, given that the defense is just going to be rock solid regardless. And I'm not saying anything against Anthony Barr, because I think he's been a hell of a player. He's got a bunch of highlights with us.
Barr's had a down season. Barr struggled with injuries for a while. But I don't think any of that is enough to where the Vikings would want to move on from him in any way. They're going to negotiate their butts off to try to work out some kind of deal. And I think it's going to be for around Eric Kendricks' value is what they're going to try to get. But his agent's going to be pushing for more because of those Pro Bowls.
Yep.
Wow. This one is really a toss-up for me, because both players, obviously, when on the field, are effective. But they both have in common of injuries, very injury prone and, missing games here and there. Dang, this is tough.
That's why I picked it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Be a man. Okay. I'd go with Barr. I'd go with Barr over Diggs. And I know that might not be popular with others, but I just feel that Anthony Barr could still be a key piece to this defense that we have that's already excellent. And maybe with more money, new money rolling into his bank account, that's obviously could be incentive. I think he'll go back to the guy that that he was when he first came into the league, and was just kind of like, oh my God, who was that? And just, putting up nice solid numbers and stuff.
I just don't want to see the Vikings trying to draft another starting wide receiver. I don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, because we just have such bad luck. I mean, how many successful linebackers have we had over the years, or at least guys that are viable starters, maybe middle of the pack, a little bit below the average? We've whiffed on some wide receivers, and I love the fact that you have not only a one, like, because we don't really have that true Julio Jones, Antonio Brown type player, but we have a great 1-2 punch. They're both different, and I don't want to see that leave, you know?
Ying Yaj in the chat says that Barr wants Khalil Mack kind of money, and that ain't going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Dang. Mr. Smith, kudos to you, brother, because, yes, this is a head scratcher right here. Because I feel like either or, like, it might be, like, the wrong answer, or I feel like if I pick one or the other, you know, some fans will crucify me and question my loyalty to the Minnesota Vikings, you know.
No, I don't think this should ever be interpreted as we don't like one player.
Oh, we've been very adamant about that.
I want to keep both of them. Perfect world. Like if we
absolutely.
I mean, Adam, what you were hitting to, I mean, I'm not an expert money wise or whatever, but from what you broke down to with the deal with Hunter, I think you said something this kind of helps out for next season money wise, where it opens up where we can. It is a reality to resign both Diggs and Barr.
Not if he wants Khalil Mack money.
Oh shit!
He's not going to get that. I think they're going to base it too. I saw a bunch of guys talking on social media about it. Well, what if we franchise tag him? Well, you see what happened if you don't commit to someone long term. That's why we have quarterback Kirk Cousins now. So you want to give him something long term. So not only does he feel wanted, because you know if he gets money, he's going to be very happy to get paid. But he's also going to be there's always going to be a player, even if they get paid Kirk Cousins kind of money or something relative to their position, they're going to be like, well, the money's great, but you guys only want me for a year. What the hell? The Redskins or whoever, I just said the Redskins because I thought of Kirk Cousins. The Redskins are offering me a 4-year deal. Why don't you guys want me for 4 years? You know?
Right.
And they have every right to say that. You know, we can play well, I only make $40,000 a year. This is BS. They play a football game. I don't want to hear that crap. If you're one of those people, cool, turn us off.
You're worth whatever a team will give you.
Exactly. Don't tell these guys they can't go out and get paid. That's crazy. So
Albert Hainsworth, you're worth it, man.
Brock Osweiler, you have the best agent ever.
Sam Bradford's agent is just a genius.
Oh man, I hate picking.
He's a genius with this deal. $20 million to play what, 6 games, if that.
He's a magician, man. I don't know how he does it.
If you talk any louder, his knee is going to tear again. Stop it, Dorian. I said that.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. Sam, I loved it. I wish your knees were all right because I would still love to have you as a Vikings quarterback, but I digress.
Hell yeah, Mr. Smith. I agree with that, but goodness gracious, all that money.
If you could have a healthy Sam Bradford, that's great, but too bad that guy isn't in the league. We should probably call it quits pretty soon because we are well over an hour.
That's fine. We got to run through a lot of stuff. We only had a couple of things in the notes, but we improvised and we ended up talking for over an hour, which is what always happens every single time.
I want to end my part by saying that I got to go to Fan HQ this weekend, and it went to the Sean Salisbury signing, who used to be a Minnesota Vikings quarterback, for those of you who may have forgotten him over the years. It's been a while. I got to admit, when I first showed up there, I wasn't super thrilled because I was not a massive fan, but I knew enough of him to want to have his autograph in my collection and meet him. So I walked up and I put my photograph down on the table for him to sign, said, "Hi, how you doing?" And the first thing he asks me is, what's your favorite autograph in your collection? And that question's awful. That's an awful question. I have so many great autographs that I wouldn't trade for almost anything that it's just crazy. But yet the first thing that comes out of my mouth is my Bruce Campbell autograph that I got at Wizard World. I said the actor, not the football player, because I believe Bruce Campbell was a Raiders offensive lineman for a couple years. So I wanted to clarify, no, not that guy. And the first thing he fires back with is, that's the guy from Burn Notice, right? Really underrated actor. So I got to sit there and talk with him for a while about Bruce Campbell. And that kind of, it helped me feel a little more comfortable in the situation. It helped form that bond. And he's actually created a little bit more of a fan again now, which is cool.
Isn't that great when you meet someone who's famous or on a celebrity status of some sort, and they're just nice, and you have a moment? You know, you want it. Obviously, if we could all spend days with our heroes and hang out and become best friends, that'd be cool. But that they take a time out and it feels genuine.
Most people, when you stand in autograph lines, they don't. The person signing doesn't ask you anything.
Right.
Most of the time, they're just going with the flow. Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. You know, it's great to see you. You get the pleasantries, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with going through the pleasantries. These people probably sign hundreds, thousands autographs all the time. But for Sean Salisbury to take that moment to make the interaction like a step more, and for him to sit there and take pictures with every kid that came through the line, it was just so amazing. And I'm a sucker for that. I'm a sucker for an athlete or a celebrity who takes that extra time to interact with kids. I love it. Just instilling that next generation of Vikings fans, making sure that they are going to be there. It's so much fun and so great to see.
I'm happy for you, man. I was happy when you told us in the chat, but that's cool to share that little story with us.
That and any chance I get to talk about Bruce Campbell on the Purple People podcast, I got to go for it.
Absolutely.
You guys got anything you want to close up with?
No, I went on my rant already.
You've gone off on a couple good rants today.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to give everybody something to talk about and liven up the show a little bit. We're sorry Kyle's not here. I had to fill in for the
we stretched it out in hopes that he could make a show, but he didn't.
It's all right.
Kyle is sure gonna, miss the Phillip Rivers reference earlier. I would have liked to hear.
We talked about Chris Kluwe without Kyle West, and that's
right.
He's the only one of us that owns a Chris Kluwe jersey.
Yeah, that would have been great for him. Yeah, I'll promote my band real fast. If anybody out there in Purple People podcast land, YouTube land, whatever, if you happen to be in the area of Alpine, Texas this weekend, my band Disposable Inc., the Metallica tribute band that I am the front man for, we're going to be playing there at Roadhouse Blues, in Alpine, Texas. Really excited to be going at 9 p.m., and we're going to tear the house down. I'll give you a preview. It's going to be the Black Album from start to finish in its entirety. We do a little Creeping Death, For Whom the Bell Tolls, the new one, Moth into Flame, and 3 from the Master of Puppets album to include Disposable, Heroes, and Damage Inc., which is how we fused our name together. But we just added Master of Puppets to the playlist, so you get to hear that as well. I'm really pumped, and we practiced Monday, and it was very solid. We're going to practice again tomorrow, right before the show on Saturday. So you can make it out, cool. If not, I'll post some videos and might even throw my page up on the Purple People podcast page to get some more likes. I know the band would appreciate that. But
very cool.
That's it.
I have nothing. Purple People podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Gully Blanchard.
And, speaking of that, how is our Instagram coming along, Mr. Smith?
It's still in the works. Do you guys remember watching the middle Batman series, The Dark Knight? You guys remember that?
I saw that movie.
The movie was good, right? You know how they say, have we got a lead on the Batman? And they say the investigation is still ongoing. Yeah, that's me right now.
It's ongoing?
Yeah, it's ongoing. I'm down for it. We'll talk about it in depth, and I'll make a little reminder now. I'm glad you reminded me.
Sounds good.
I'd love to figure out something else for us and all of our fans here and all the followers to get going along. It's just going to be something else we're going to promote, so get ready, guys.
Absolutely. And I was a little sad because
I have to do it.
Fansided is going to be releasing a store where you can buy shirts based on the websites that are all part of the network. They got a really cool Undead Walking shirt, but once again, nothing for the Viking Age. So if you guys would, please shoot over some emails. And if you are someone who would buy the Viking Age shirt or something like that, please just message them, send them something to let them know that you want to see some Viking Age merch on their website.
I'll buy one of those.
Yeah, me too.
Because I've been thinking about designing my own, and I've been running through it a couple times. I have not actually bought one because I keep hoping that there's going to be one up on the store, but it hasn't happened yet. Maybe one day.
And speaking of shirts, buy our shirt. Get in contact with Kyle West. In regards to
post up that link on the website because we need to start selling some of them.
Yes, buy our shirt. You saw me a few weeks back with my shirt, and I was sexy, wasn't I? I was.
You were
sexy.
looking good, man.
I was styling and profiling like my name was Ric Flair.
All
Woo!
the comments on the site were just with like 8 M's.
I know. It should have been more. It should have been 10. How about 10? No, but seriously, guys, we would appreciate that support. But yes, our shirt, most definitely. Adam, I'll buy your shirt too. I think you have me and Mr. Smith support on the Viking Age shirt. If it comes out, I'm getting it.
Also,
awesome.
For one last little thing to talk about there, if you're going to go to the Viking Age or you're going to download the app or use Fansided like I do, click on the article, comment on it, give it a little heart for recommended or whatever, because Adam gets his money that way. He gets more of a boost there if you actually go to there and leave feedback. So even if you go down and comment boobs, he's going to get more numbers, all right?
That's true. Although something Vikings related would be nice. Maybe Vikings boobs? I don't know. Now you got me thinking about going to a game and seeing all those lovely ladies in purple, and that's just not fair. The parade of beautiful women wearing Vikings colors, it's crazy. Absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing. Oh my God.
It is. It's something you don't think about when you go to a game.
Boobies. Love boobies.
All right, we are way too off track here, so let's bring this to a close. I'd appreciate it if you could check out my work on the Viking Age or Undead Walking. In the meantime, I got to pull up the app because I want you guys to stay classy, Minnesota.